Hi, Robin.
Hi, Bob.
How are you?
Good.
Good. Let me introduce us. I'm Robert Wright. This is The Wright Show, available on both streaming video and audio podcast. You are Robin Wang. That's W-A-N-G. You're the Robert H. Taylor Professor in Philosophy at Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles. You're the author of a book published by Cambridge University Press called Yinyang. Now, Americans are probably accustomed to pronouncing that pair of syllables yin yang. That's the way it's known here. But I learned from you that the correct pronunciation is yang.
Yes.
Y-A-N-G. The subtitle of that book is The Way of Heaven and Earth in Chinese Thought and Culture. You also contributed a chapter to this book that our viewers and listeners may be aware of because we have delved into it previously, but it's called How to Live a Good Life, something we're all interested in, edited by Massimo Pigliucci, Sky Cleary, and Dan Kaufman. You wrote the chapter on Daoism.
Yes.
Which is, of course, a Chinese philosophical tradition. And of course, the idea of yin and yang also figures in Chinese philosophy, although they're not all that directly connected, right? I mean, yin yang is not confined to Daoism. I guess it is. Is it referred to sometimes in Daoism?
Yes. That is a basic thinking mode where all Chinese schools, especially in the early time, they use the yin yang. It's kind of the way of thinking. But the Daoism actually using this yin yang concept more specific applied to all aspects of our life. So it's actually directed, intrinsically directed, connected.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So now there's one other thing about you I should mention before we get started is that you were a consultant for the movie The Karate Kid. This is the 2010 version,
Yes.
the remake. It was the producer was the actor Will Smith, and not coincidentally, his son was the star, Jamin Smith. He starred as the Karate Kid. And it was filmed in China. Took
Yes.
at least large parts of it were took place in China. And I gather you gave them some guidance on kind of the way Chinese philosophy entered the movie in subtle ways. Right?
Yes, particularly the Daoism. I think I was a cultural consultant for this movie. So we met, we discussed, particularly we discussed Daoist, for me, training in philosophy. So I talk about the Daoist concept. I was fascinated and very impressed as well to see how they can taking the abstract idea and then visualize it and then make this wonderful movie. So it's a wonderful experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And the good guys win in the end.
That's not necessarily Dao.
Well,
it's a Hollywood. That's the Hollywood.
We can get into that. I do want to talk about the movie before we finish, but let's start off with this concept that is central to Daoism. I mean, first of all, we should say that a distinction is sometimes made between religious Daoism and philosophical Daoism. We're talking about Daoism as a philosophy of living.
Yes.
But in any event, so a concept that is central to it is the concept of Dao, spelled either T-A-O or D-A-O, depending on convention. But let me read the first sentence of the Tao Te Ching, one of the fundamental, if not the fundamental texts of Taoism attributed to Lao Tzu. I'm going to read the first sentence. It's been rendered various ways, and maybe we'll have time to talk about the challenge of translation at some point, but this is a pretty famous rendering of the first sentence. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao.
Right.
Now, I guess that sometimes, I think the sense people get from that is that there's something fundamental and important, this thing, the Tao, that cannot be fully articulated, or that there's some sense that well, why don't you take it from there? Tell us what is the concept of the Tao, whether that is a pretty good rendering of the first line, whether you consider that a good translation. I have others here if you don't approve of that one, and what you would say about the meaning.
Okay, so I think it's good translation. First the sentence actually refers three things. One, it's a Tao. Secondly, the Tao we talk about. The third is eternal Tao. So basically, this whole word in Chinese character, this is only 6 characters. Wow. But in English translation, you can see different variations. So what is the idea conveyed? One, we think about the Tao in Chinese term is a head walking on the road. So we think about the life is a journey. Now you really need a guidance.
So you're saying that is the Chinese character looks like and of course Chinese, if people don't know, is an ideographic lange. So you have characters that stand for concepts. Yes. And objects and things. And so, at least that's how they started out, even though they've become more abstract. And so you're saying that the symbol for the Tao is, describe it again?
It's a human head walking on the road. So consists of 2 parts. One part is a head, means human head. Another one is it's a road. So basically you're using your head. You're walking on the road. That it has many meanings we can discuss. So that's the one Tao. Second meaning, the first statement is talk about the Tao can talk about, Tao can spoken about. That means the Tao, humans try and use cognitive ability, trying to understand it, grabbing it, trying to make sense of it. So that's the things we talk about, the Tao human talk about. The third Tao is the eternal Tao. This idea is a constancy. The constancy has this sense of source, root, and infinite, and also mystery. So this is one sentence actually conveyed the 3 different things. And it correspond, you can see second statement talk about the naming. So that is help we understand the Tao by using the idea of naming. So then later on talk about the Tao. Ultimately, if you read the first song, you look at it, the Tao he doesn't know, said, okay, I don't know what it's called. If you force me using a word, a term, human language to describe, I call the mother. So it's a mother of Maria, the same.
Yeah, so that's lower down in the same in the first. Okay, let me ask you. The most common translation of Tao is the way, right? W-A-Y.
Yes.
And that you could take that as the path, the way that you're supposed to follow, but you could take it other ways, so to speak, too. Do you think that is the best word to use in translating Tao? And what are the meanings of the English word way that most apply to the concept of Tao?
So the people can see Tao is a skill. It's a principle, and then you can take it like the way, in the sense usually people think you know the rope, you know the way, you know how to get the things done. And then, so this is a Tao. So you have a whole kind of way, the Tao of government, the Tao of art, the Tao of management, the Tao of so forth being widely used. So probably there's about 200 over a Tao of beauty, Tao of all kinds of things. So this way they use Tao is some sort of how to get things done, is internal patterns or rules. But in Tao Te Ching Tao, we also can bring this one level of this sense to this a little higher. We will see it's a root, it's a foundation, it's Yeah.
So it is both.
Ultimate,
it is kind of the ultimate animating principle of the universe.
Yes.
But by the same token, it is also the way you should live life in light of the fact that it is the underlying, right? So it is both descriptive and prescriptive.
Prescriptive, yeah. The simplest way you think about the Daoism, and you will say, is nature-inspired theory and practice. It's not, you don't see this dualistic split. Mm-hmm. Mind, the body, the human beings, the nature, rationality, emotion. But in Dao, it's see the oneness. Dao with myriad things. Some people tend to think about the Dao in the sense of comparison with the God, but they say exactly not. There is similarities, but a very different way to think about the reality.
Right. And I mean, tell me if there is a kind of connection right here with the yin yang. So, I mean, of course, yin and yang are, feminine and like yin is feminine, I guess, dark, soft, and so on. Yang is masculine, light, hard. On the one hand, everything is, you can divide everything into one or the other. But on the other hand, ultimately the division isn't, I don't know if it's illusory, but at a more fundamental level, there is a unity, right?
Yes. Okay, so I will not, so if Dao, I think the best way to describe Dao is a source. And then, so this source, and also it's not a creation. The source in the sense of generation and transformation. Then next step, see how things transform, how things give birth to each other. Mm-hmm. What happened? Yin-yang is this function. Yin-yang is generate. It generated the changes and like 4 seasons, day, night, our body's movement and so forth. So yin-yang is this kind of connected piece. The wonderful important Dao is the principle is a connectivity. Now, how these things are connected? What makes this connection possible? What made a generation and a transformation possible? That is through yin-yang lens. So I will not use the idea of division because division sometimes tend to isolate. Okay, here is a male, here is a female, and then that's it. Seems there is clean cut and the boundaries. But the yin-yang will see it's interrelational. So some. By the way, the idea of a female, male, it's not femininity and masculinity in yin-yang sense. 2 things I really want to make sure. One is it's not an entity, so every healthy human beings have a femininity and has a masculinity.
Okay. So I would have both yin and yang in me, and so would you.
Yes, if you don't have that, both elements, then you have a problem. So this is
I may have a problem.
Everyone will have a problem. Second one is yin-yang is not a normative principle if we think about this. So we see black or white, okay, day and night. But this is not a good and a bad. You don't say, I love day, I hate night. No, you don't think that, right? Night comes, I will come. Mm-hmm. Day it involves, yes, I also embrace. So this is what the main principle in the Tao Te Ching, chapter 42, and mention a very interesting idea. First, only part talk about the yin-yang. So this is give a view to think about how everything exists. So he said, the Tao Te Ching here said that the Tao generate 1 generate 2 generate. So you remember generate, not create. That's very important.
2 generates 3, and 3 generates 1,000 things.
Yes. So then you see this transformation. But the next step, see how everything exists, the myriad things, in what form. You will see, in front, I wonder what you see. So one is you confront yang, because yang is in front. Yang is a thing, something you sing. And then you carry it. You embrace yang and you carry the yin. So this is a very interesting part. It's like right now we're facing day, but we actually, there is a night unseen behind us. We carry. So this carry on in embracing is a non-presence. It's a silent transformation. Usually we actually kind of lost the sight of this. We only see friend. Oh, I only see sunshine, but you don't see the night is coming. So Dao De Jing really shift the value, 就是 Daoism shift the value. They celebrate femininity. They also celebrate the unseen. So it's all the things, yeah. So in the yin-yang mode, seeing, unseen, form we will see interconnected whole.
Okay. So, yeah, so often when we have a contrast between two things in real life, we prefer one to the other. Like, my soup is cold, I want it to be hot. Or it's dark, I want it to be light. There is more of a sense in Taoism that you shouldn't resist. You should relax these preferences, that you should accept whatever is. Does that make sense? Okay, so
here's what earlier I was saying. Taoism has this dualistic view to perceive things, absolute, the hot and the cold, right? So, but they see the binary dependence. So, not the context rich views. Like a hot and a cold. In the summer, you probably want to drink soup cold, but in the winter, you probably want to drink hot. Right? So you can see this alternation, depends the time, place, and then you made a choice. So here I also want to bring out another things is there is in our mind, we think about the predicament and the problem. If we think, we're facing a problem, I have to make a choice. Okay. So if we think about the problem, that means we want a solution, immediate solution. If we think about predicament, then we see, look, we see things connected. We see the change. We think about the transformation. The Taoist idea was it's when you encounter opposite. It doesn't mean winners and losers, right? Because it's not I win, you lose, or you win, I lose. It's not, but rather you work together because ultimately we are interconnected. We are working together. So found the best solution. So that Taoist, so idea of you blending with energy, you not oppose energy.
Yeah. So one, maybe this is related. One thing you mentioned in your chapter of this book, How to Live a Good Life, is that perspective taking is very important in Taoism. Now, what exactly do you mean by perspective taking, and how is it important?
Perspective is a Taoist mindset. So how do we perceive things? Right? In the particularly two things with it. One is fear. One is uncertainty. Because also life is constant transformation. So I can't. I don't know what it is there. So we tend to have this. We always want rational control. But you have to see, actually, sometimes the life is beyond your control. So you have to certain sense of receptivity. Now, one of the things there is a Taoist idea. I think the perspective I wanted to see, one is we tend to using our mindset to block in things. We isolate things, and then we think about the fixed mindset. So one of the Taoist teaching.
Do you mean we overthink?
Yeah, we either overthink or we free the uncertainty. So we always want everything certain. I have the absolute control. This is on my hand. So that kind of mentality sometimes could be cause more frustration and anxiety. So rather you put the things, when you confront the problem, you put the things into perspective. It's always so. There is one story I talk about in the Zhuangzi, another text talk about there's a big gourd. People don't know what to do. They just smash it. And then Zhuangzi said, hey, look, a big gourd. Yes, you cannot use it to holding the water. You can do, but you can make a boat, So Taoism really trying to teach us to thinking about create a space between you and the outside of you. Some sort of, yeah.
So, I mean, part of the idea is that whatever perspective you happen to have right now on a thing is only one possible perspective. There are other ways to look at it. There are ways that other people look at it.
That's right.
And so to get to a truer perspective, you need to transcend the perspective of the moment.
Yes, it's clarity, And then second things I want to say about the perspective is people know Taoism, especially in English-speaking world, they will say, oh, Tao is the idea of Wu Wei, non-action. Everybody know it. But
probably not everybody. So why don't you just quickly define that? Just review it. It's usually spelled W-U-W-E-I with a hyphen.
No, W-W-E-I. Yes. Right. Wu Wei is the principle. It's literally translated. Wu means know nothing. Wei is act. Having action. Put it together is non-action. Mm-hmm. So people usually say, oh, we just non-action. No, Taoism just be a chill. And that's it. But they see that is not Taoism. It's not teach you being a couch potato. So we always say, oh, flow like water. And this is actually really not a complete picture. So I would think it may be easier to think about Tao is that stop, look, then go. What does that mean is, so one world, you see the world, just be stopped to look at the things a different perspective, suspend your will, suspend your desire, and let things evolve a little bit. So I usually give example in the living in LA, we all know think about the 405 traffic. We're stuck in the traffic. What do? In the traffic situation, you can change lane all the time. But 5 minutes later, you are not really, go ahead, go anywhere, right? Instead, you're going with the flow. But that's but you look, you will think about, okay, how do I use this best traffic time? Listen to the music, read, Wright show, listen to Wright show, right? So learning another language, best use that's the one thing. But then also action. So usually people forgot Wu Wei. There is another part is you just like a martial arts. People give you a threat, punch. What do? You block, then you hit. So there's a second part, your action. Mm-hmm. It's things somehow it's not being understood. So two ideas can be one. You think about if you are surfing the ocean. That's the best way to think about the Wu Wei. Now, if you let the waves to like push you around, you're not surfing. Or you're against the wave, you're just surviving. You're not surfing. Best surfer is catching the surfing board and catching that moment, ride the waves. So that is the Wu Wei. Okay,
so can I ask a question? So I'm inclined to say that the idea here is that we should proceed circumspectly, that, through life. That is to say, kind of size the situation up. Don't do anything rash. Don't be too reactive. But that sounds very, kind of cognitive and deliberate. And there is this sense in Daoism that at the same time, I mean, as I said, you're kind of not supposed to overthink, or is this just a stereotype that you want to dismiss, that you want to debunk about Daoism? I mean, am I right that there's an emphasis, on the one hand, there's an emphasis on sizing things up, but there's also an emphasis on, I don't know if you'd use the word intuition, or there's a sense of, I guess, having cultivated your own sense of things so well that you can trust your sense of things, right?
Yeah. But yes, you're right. So they're really probably another layers. So the one layer you think, okay, so we accepting the reality and just flow with it, embrace it. But so that part, but then another part is Taoists have a strategy. So in other words, where your cognitive ability, you in where, laying where, how do you use it? You have this, we all being smart. You think we not, intuition is not enough. We need some reason. And, so here come to this idea. One in the book, I also in the essay I talk about the shu. It means to find your place. What will be the best you can make a contribution to, like, say, your job, your life, your family, whatever. You find your niche. That is to know yourself, to know others. And then the situation, it's not just go wherever, but yet to find out what is the best you have, what do you have, and then how to optimize your strengths, avoid your weakness. I think that part is also strategic plan apply in that sense. We can see Tao is doing the best. That's why the military is like the art of war. Later on, Taoism is a classical text evolved to the art of war. The text they all use.
So is that a very Taoist book? The book, yes. The Art of War by Sun. What's the name of the author again?
It's a Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu. So it's basically the concept of perpetuity. Right. So to see where perpetuity lies, and then how do you make a best out of situation. Okay. And, so now, I think,
well, go ahead and say what you're going to say. You think?
Well, I want to see, because I really think, to all my life is trained to be a philosopher. I trained, educated in China, but in the U.S. So this education that I enjoy about what is truth, what is good, what is beautiful. But when I become a mother, suddenly what is not enough, but rather how to be not just a good mother. I'm not that, just a daily life choice, what I should feed the girls, right? Or the soft drink, the milk, the plain water, or what we should feed. So that is to make me think about Tao is the best guide me to how to get us, how to do things. So my daughter will, when growing up, really teach me a lot of things. So they come up and say, oh, we have a Mama Wang's principle. So this is in the book that we talk about. Eat well, sleep well, exercise, and do well in school. So this is people saying, well, this is so commonsensical. But no, this is a ground. And that's a lead to another question about the Taoism, to think about where you put your energy, where you put your, we say, how do you pursue happiness? So my daughter will say, well, how about my happiness? I'm not going to be happy to do all these things. I said, no. Once you do these things well, you will be happy. So they do challenge this. I think it's good. So, but we can, if you want more, I can talk some more in that.
Well, what I was actually thinking was, a certain amount of what you just described, I think some Americans would see as kind of their stereotype of Chinese tradition generally, and you could probably find some of it in Confucianism, couldn't you? I mean, an emphasis on discipline, and in Confucianism on ritual, I think. So, of course, I guess it's, it's hard to, these traditions influence one another. And in fact, Buddhism interacted with Daoism, and to oversimplify, some would say, again, to oversimplify, that the result was Zen Buddhism. Zen Buddhism is a lineage of Buddhism that passed through China and interacted with Daoism. Now, do you see that from what you know of Zen Buddhism?
Yeah, I see actually it's another way because Zen Buddhism, this is one Zhuangzi has this second. So we talk about Daoism, refer to Daoism as a philosophical school of thought and the Daoism as a religious practice, Daojiao and Daojia. So for Dao as a school of thought, there's two primary texts. One is the Dao De Jing you read. Another one called the Zhuangzi. So Zhuangzi text lots of stories, parables. It's a little bit difficult to read, but it's kind of interesting. Take some patience to do it.
That's just a sec. Just to interrupt briefly. That's spelled Zhuangzi.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
So that's a second text associated with Daoism. Yeah.
Yes. So in that text we I kind of lost a little bit short. Can you remind me?
Well, you were saying that it has a lot of stories and parables. It's
yeah. But I want to make a point.
And you were distinguishing between philosophical and religious Daoism also.
Yes. And but the earlier I think so Zhuangzi provide a way to think about the life through the examples. So it's a very sophisticated epistemology to see the world. How was the best way to see the world and to understand? Oh, that's now you talk about Zen and Buddhism now.
Right.
So one of the things that Zhuangzi talk about is the fasting of mind. Basically, is to put your mind, heart mind on diet. What's that mean? It's just empty it, to not let the entangle the emotion, conventional stand that bother you. So, and then he has he talk about specific method. It's a setting and a forgetting. You forget the things. And this is actually directly connected with the Zen Buddhist practice. You can see, the people think about the genealogy, see how this is evolved, Chan Buddhism going to Japan. So that's a direct connection with Zhuangzi's method, fasting man of a method, and the Zen Buddhism. So yes.
Let me now. Speaking of Buddhism, I want to read a little more of that very first kind of stanza or chapter, and because there's a thing that kind of reminds me of Buddhism, and it says, so we've said, it says, the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth. The named is the mother of 10,000 things. Then it says, and this is the part I want to focus on, ever desireless, one can see the mystery. Ever desiring, one can see the manifestations. I mean, you'll have to tell me exactly what you think that means, and again, whether it's a good translation. But it reminds me a little of the Buddhist idea that you have to, if you want to see the truth about things, the ultimate truth about things, you have to let go of your cravings, your thirst, in some sense, your desires, and let the mind become completely calm to the point almost of having no preferences.
Yes.
And then you will see the truth. Now, does that capture some of the spirit of this, or is this mean something totally different?
It's a very, very connected. So, of course, Dao De Jing, there is a part also talk about how our desire, especially our senses. One part of desire has a different, our senses and our will. We talk about it. We just think, desire can block our vision to understand the Tao, or to live the life. Mostly because the desire is rooted in conventional standard, conventional idea. So that's become problematic. Now, but I do want to see different Taoism and the Buddhist in terms of desire.
Okay.
So here, first of all, this is the shared. Think about it, if you have no desire, and then you can actually reach is clarity. So clarity is the best way to close to the Tao. Now, in Taoist teaching, clarity has a specific word, means ming. This Ming concept, one part is the sun, one part is the moon. If you think about image, you have a 24 hours lights guiding you. You don't have artificial lights, right? You have sunshine, you have during the day to see the light, and then during the night, you see the moon give you guidance. So this is a clarity. The Ming, it's a very important aspect of a Dao. So if you can clarity, then you can see, mystery and subtlety, so forth. So this one, I think, is very similar with Buddhism. However, there is differences. Okay. The differences here. And then one of the things we do, like for example, Buddhism talk about life is a suffering, you're enlightened. Now, very much focus on the human consciousness. Now, Daoism, after you see the Dao, and then you redirect your energy to a body cultivation. So later on, if you look at Wright there, said, the one you think about, you see the darkness. This darkness is a mystery. Actually lead you to see a mystery. Seeing this mystery through kind of like a body cultivation.
And the mystery is more fundamental, right? That's reality at some deep level is where the mystery resides. And then the many things that we see is a more superficial kind of rendering. But there's this underlying kind of unity and mystery that you will see, you can better see with a kind of a calm mind. Yes,
calm mind. But then how do you know you really grasp a mystery, right? So how do you pass to reach that ultimate mystery then? This is come to Dao is the solution. That is cultivate your body. So your body form, so the body, of course, now there's a flesh. Body is not completely just the thinking machine. But the body in here, we think about there's three elements. There is a physical form, there is energy flow, and the spirit, the qi. Is energy. Everyone probably knows this better. But there's concept of shen, the spirit. So this is the way to connect with ultimate mystery through cultivation your body. So this is but the body, because your body is a miniature of nature. They assume, they have this view, your body contains or your body is a manifestation of Dao. One way to think about the manifestation of Dao. And also Dao De Jing has two words, right? One is Dao, but we didn't talk about De. What's De means? It's a classic of the way and its power. So this De is also, so De.
Yeah, we should say that's a common translation of the title, right? The way and its power.
Yeah, classics of a way and its power. Jing means classics.
Okay, so right, Dao De Jing. Jing means classics.
Classics, right.
Dao is way, and where does the power come in? Is that
okay? The De.
De means power?
Yes, there is different translation. Some translation De as virtue, as influence, as one right now currently scholar translate actually is a circulation. It's a bodily circulation as well. So that, yes.
So there is an emphasis on cultivating your physical body, I guess, through good nutrition, through exercise, and through specific exercises as part of the path to a clear view of the world, and also the path to putting yourself in a position to act wisely and circumspectly.
And to achieve eternity and the transcending. So there is a thing, we see what Dao people will say, oh, there's no God, there's no transcendence. That is correct. But it doesn't mean they're trying to work toward something beyond our physical existence. There is a spirituality in Taoist teaching and practice. Means through your body, you're healthy. Be bodily healthy, like Chinese medicine, Chinese martial arts. It's just the beginning step. There is something more profound beyond that. It's to cultivate your spirit. It's to to attaining, to be aligned, to be union with the Tao, which is eternal. So I think that part we really wanted to also focus on the idea of how to you using your finite, your own finite existence to reach infinite existence.
Now, does the emphasis on cultivating the body, is that where the connection between Daoism and martial arts lies?
Yeah, because the Zhuangzi that the beginning talk about is one. So here's the thing. So when you cultivate the Dao, when you're learning from Dao, you be united with the Dao, then your body gain extraordinary ability. That so people doing well martial arts, it's not because they have some kind of specific skill, but rather they gain a Dao. They know about the Dao. So it's because the Dao within them, and they can do all these fancy moves.
So wait, are you saying that that kind of grasping the Dao mentally facilitates the development of their physical skills, or that the development of the physical skills facilitates their kind of apprehension of the Tao and their appreciation of the Tao, or does it work in both directions, or what?
It's working in both directions. It's interrelated. So in the Zhuangzi's idea, so that he's talking about if you gain clarity, and then you will be putting your body into work, and therefore you go into the water, you're not drowned, and then you walk into fire, you're not burned. So you gain this extraordinary ability. They call the Zhenren, or you call the completed person. So there is specific word for it. This is also Taoist ultimate pursuit.
Okay, so maybe then this is a good time to talk a little about the movie The Karate Kid, on which you consulted. I first want to, I think this may be relevant or may not, but I want to read chapter 37 in this same translation I've been using. Tao abides in non-action, yet nothing is left undone. If kings and lords observed this, the 10,000 things would develop naturally. If they still desired to act, they would return to the simplicity of formless substance. Without form, there is no desire. Without desire, there is tranquility. And in this way, all things would be at peace. So this seems to be, again, bringing up desire and the virtue of abandoning desire, or at least not being overly possessed by it. But here there's more of a suggestion that not only that you get clear vision that way, but you get behaviors that are conducive to a healthy world there. So and that first so in non-action, the emphasis on non-action, let's see, is reminded me of part of the movie, The Karate Kid. I actually watched the 2010 version in preparation. That was my rigorous preparation for this conversation, was to watch the movie The Karate Kid. And there are some things in that where there's an emphasis on stillness, and but why don't you, just that aside, why don't you talk a little about, for starters, just the connection between Daoism and martial arts specifically? Okay. Because, it will strike some people as paradoxical. Martial arts seems violent, and we've been talking about, calm, stillness, and abandoning desire, and so on. So how do they connect? Okay, so let me see one. So if you remember the movie when Jackie Chan and the lead drew up to the mountain, to go mountain, right? So one scene you see. So we should say, maybe I should just say a little bit about. So Jackie Chan plays. So just quick. Okay, kid is getting bullied. Yes. In the original Karate Kid, he's in California. Now he's an American kid in China getting bullied by these kids who really know martial arts. he gets kind of adopted in a way, or at least mentored by an older martial arts master, in this case played by Jackie Chan. You can imagine the rest. There will be a final confrontation between him and the bullies. He won't do too badly. So with that and you're right. So there's the scene of him and Jackie Chan. This is Will Smith's actual child in real life, playing the part of the kid who is going up the mountain with Jackie Chan, his mentor. Sorry, go ahead.
One of the things to release desire being conveyed in this way. So, the Jew has a very lovely skateboard, right? So he hold everywhere when they go in China hold. But then you see, you release your desire. And that was how he leave that skateboard down the mountain. Yeah, he tells him
to leave his skateboard. Jackie Chan tells him to leave his skateboard at the bottom of the mountain.
Right. That's the simple. So to say you reduce your desire. Now you are trying to reach this emptiness. Then you go into journey. Then the waka, one of the things he's saying, I want the guava, I want the water. Then gather the water, the best water I take. So that is also in Taoist teaching that water is the highest virtue. Now that's in the chapter 8. So you should flow like water, so forth. So now so here you can see when Jackie Chan training this Jew, it's not through simply just head a fight, but through the character forming. Mm-hmm. So you're going up to see the character, to how your character form. So that's the one. And then another one, when they're going down the top. Now, if you know the end, Jew able to fight to win this battle is because he learned a specific move. This move he's learned with that snakes, with a Taoist, actually it's a woman, which I suggest. I think woman because it's how in Daoism they really celebrate femininity.
This is at the top of the mountain where Drew, the character you're talking about, is this is Will Smith's son, observes a woman, and there's a snake. I don't know if it's a cobra or what, but
cobra,
there's a snake.
Okay, it's a cobra, yes.
There's a snake, and he thinks that and they're kind of like mirror images. They're doing the same. She's face to face with a snake in some kind of ritual, and they seem to be doing the same things, like almost as if a mirror image. And Drew, I don't know if it's Drew or Dre. It's D-R-E, right?
Dre.
Okay.
Sorry, Dre.
So that, but he at first thinks she is mimicking the snake. Yeah. And Jackie Chan corrects him and says, no, it's the other way around. It's that she is, I guess she's being she's being so calm and still that the snake emulates her or something. How does it go?
So basically it's kind of like she follows a snake. So that means we receive the energy, the force, the power from nature. Mm-hmm. And so this is also to think about because we trust nature has its own patterns and rhythms. So you need to follow that. So that's the part.
Maybe I had it wrong then. What he's saying is that she, in her stillness, is absorbing the nature of the snake and doesn't need to be trying to emulate it. She's just reflecting it.
Yes, exactly. So in other words, so you reach this highest stage in Taoist behavior code called the 自然, called the self-soul, like a spontaneity, right? That you follows. And to look in this situation, how should you follow this rhythm? But then you get this, it's hard. It's not that we can, because we feel we're smart, we are win the fight. So our mind cannot get that. What do we do? So then Jackie Chan said, basically, fasting your mind. You remember they said your mind needed stillness and trying to let him to calm down. It's not about winning the lose, but it's in inner strength. You activate your inner strength and dealing with this kind of situation. So that is kind of trend. And then another thing to talk about is repeated actions, right? Character forming. Mm-hmm. And the character forming, and then, so this produce the best result. So in other words, martial arts, it's not about just quickly overpower your opinions, but rather power with. And so they come to the threat, I guess, a punch, and how do you directing, called blending energy? How do you directing that energy, and then to using that energy to attacking the opinions.
So using some of their energy.
Yes, called the blending energy. Yes.
Yeah. So in the scene where Jackie Chan first saves the kid from being beaten up by a bunch of kids, Jackie Chan manages to make the bad kids all like hit each other. He doesn't even have to hit one of them. He just does these moves that lead them to hit each other. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Right. But also you can see this whole martial arts, this whole training, like this fight. It's not just a simple fight. It's really Jackie Chan trying to teach Dre to be a good person, to have a good character. You know,
his first big discipline is to, Dre has a habit of just dropping his coat on the floor, and his mother has yelled at him about it and so on. And Jackie Chan just has him repeatedly, endlessly just pick up his coat, hang it up, take it off, do it again.
So this is kind of martial arts. We will see it's a self-discipline training. Okay? So it's like, I was thinking about for the kids, I really thinking, our kids, what is the best training our young generation to have focused? I think it has a lot to do with through the martial arts. They teach you to have a certain kind of discipline. And this discipline gradually become a part of your character. And at the circumstances, you just flowed out, naturally self-soul, called 自然. It's not forced. It's not, using some sort of strict discipline. Eventually, discipline disappeared. You become self-regulating. So here's the Daoism. I think is self-regulating to a certain extent. Actually, you gain the freedom. You become a free person
through discipline.
Yes.
Okay. Now, are there other parts of the movie that spring to mind? I mean, there are a couple of renderings of the actual famous, yin-yang symbol in the course of the movie. They show up. But are there other parts of the movie where that come to mind? There is, of course, the epic fight scene in the end. I mean, first of all, Jackie Chan is emphasizing him not to think about losing or winning. And there are things like that. But is there anything else that stands out?
Yeah. So there is one very important principle here. So remember, Jackie Chan asked Dre to take a day off because this is her big, competition. So he felt so strange. He said, no, why? No, I want to do. So Jackie Chan used, actually, I give this, a term, and it's actually from Dao called 物极必反. This idea is when things, evolved to the extreme will reverse from it. So in other words, you have to create a space to rejuvenating, to rest, and then in order to move forward. So this is the idea. This is the law of nature. We see in the nature, but then when we running our own life, we also should, somehow follow that, practice that. Like a day evolve to when is the darkest time? During the, 24 hours, that is before dawn, right? So once got the very dark and then dawn start. What is the highest, brightest time during the 24 hours cycle? Oh, so the 12, a.m. So then the sun is most, we see full and then starting down. So this is the pattern we see in the nature. So using that specific case to using this principle to say you take a break in order to doing well in the upcoming competition.
Okay.
So that's the Taoist principle.
Okay. And as it happens, that also makes it easier for him to attend the audition of his girlfriend. But we needn't get into that. So let me ask you one more question about yin yang. I mean, we talked about the idea that the dualities we see and the distinctions we see among the many things in the world are, in some sense, maybe not illusory, but superficial. And at a deeper level, there's unity. Now, is that the reason the title of your book, the academic book we alluded to, is yin yang rather than yin and yang? I mean, is yin yang the underlying unity of yin yang? Is that what the rendering of it in one word means?
Okay, so first I want to say you use term duality. So I'm not sure how do you use duality in the academic sense. It means two things seems like it's two entities. So they can exist independently. Yeah. So yin yang, it's not a dualistic view. Whether probably the polarity or I say the polarity or binary. So there's a binary.
Okay.
It's not a duality. Binary polarity is better, right? So now, in order to say, if you say here's yin, here's yang, and then these people usually trying to habitually make this distinction where to have a tendency to separate them, to treat them as two separate entity, then somehow group them together, see the unity. But I use the term, actually, I insist on to just use yin yang as one English words, because it conveys the idea, the interrelatedness. You cannot have yin without the yang. You cannot have yang without the yin. From a symbol, you can see there's a dark without a light. There's light without dark. If you take this two dark away, that's not a yin yang symbol anymore. So that's why I use this yin yang kind of like a thirdness somewhat. So in the life, everything we see actually is in yang mode. Yang usually we easy to have this way to access, but the yin part we sometimes don't know or unsure about it, so we tend to forget about it. Like children grow, but you don't see growing, right? We age. We don't see one day you in the front of the mirror say, oh my gosh, I'm getting old. No, every day you are growing. That's yin in the working, you know. Yeah. So that kind of view, so it's use a cliche, what is a dynamic, it's a flex. But the question is, how do we use that in life? That will be, sometimes can be difficult. Okay.
So I guess final question having to do, again, with, whether you want to use binary duality, whatever, the distinction between good and bad, that particular opposition of good and bad, is there an emphasis in Daoism on not getting too caught up in that particular distinction and in a way not being too moralistic or something, or relaxing judgments about that?
Yeah. Well, here it's, in the Tao Te Ching chapter 2, actually talk about if you know beautiful simply because the ugly, you know good because you're bad. So it's right. So we should not focus our mind in this distinction, but rather we see we looking at our concrete situation and see how do we understand this predicament and how do we find a way solve this predicament. I think that might be a good way to think about. Another thing is maybe another word we see is a complementary. So it's for people will be thinking it's it's crazy. How do you good and bad be complementary? Yeah, if you have a bad health, then you really appreciate the good health. You know, you in the bad relationship, you know what is a good relationship. So that kind way to thinking about the world, to understand the world, that is a Taoist way.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. And thank you so much for taking the time. Let me remind people of the name of two books. First of all is one you wrote, Yinyang, published by Cambridge University Press, but also this book that just came out within the last few months called How to Live a Good Life. It has chapters on various philosophical traditions that can be used as guides. Buddhism and Confucianism are also part of the section that yours is in, but yours is in Daoism. And I encourage people to buy it. Is there anything else you want to say about where people can find your work, Robin? Do you have a Twitter handle or a website or anything?
Yeah, I have a website. I don't have a Twitter and all this. So, but could I say quick one statement? Sure. Maybe I just think about it because I trained in our philosophy, especially the Western philosophy. I'm fascinated by the Hegel. So, but here is what time goes by and learning so much. And then here is I conclude. So I think study Hegel, gets me a job. The learning about the Tao offer me a life. So this is what I want to say.
Now, there is a kind of a connection. I mean, Hegel, of course, emphasizes, thesis, antithesis, and then synthesis.
Yes.
Is that, is there any, do you see Hegel as in any way Eastern or Taoist?
Well, yes, Hegel's method have similarities. Dialectic method has some similarity with yin-yang ideas. But I think Hegel is more focused on rational, human rationality, the absolute spirit, so it's mostly maybe it's too simplistic, but for me, I was thinking it's more live in the head. But a Tao, it's more teach you how to walk with your feet. To really have a flourish a life.
Of much more practical value than Hegelianism. So, people can read more about that because that's what your chapter is about, in this book, How to Live a Good Life. So thanks so much, Robin. And, congratulations on your role in The Karate Kid.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.